Alright, so today is Saturday, the 10th of February, 2018, and here's where we're at. Fort Davis National Historic Site in Fort Davis, Texas. Just sort of an overall view, starting with that hill, all the way around. Visitor Center is the next building down. And then there's some stuff over there that we'll go look at. And I will show you these signs. It's very windy today. But here you can see and read about this. I already have pretty interesting information. Obviously you can pause this and read that. And then right here is this one. You can pause and read this. Here, I'll do this for you. 1960. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then this is a bridge going across over into the fort. And so, like I said, the visitor center is straight down. You see that flag blowing in the wind. Do you want to pet the puppy? You can go pet him. I'll go out here, okay?
Oh, yeah.
She's not as tall as a regular English.
Do you have her at the campground?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, remember I looked out the window and...
Yeah, that's the visitor center right there. Down here is the officers' court, I believe. Here, let's go back up on here and we'll walk in the shade. You see the porch here, how it's made. So you can walk out in the shade here at least. Yeah, okay, enlisted men's barracks actually is what this is. So we will enter here as it says. And they have recordings of the bugle all throughout the day. You can see enlisted men's barracks 1869 to 1891. And here you go. Wow, look at this. There's a wagon. Check out the walls. Dirt floor. Here you go. Check it out. There's a saddle on. That is one skinny horse. My goodness. Dude, you ought to feed that horse, okay? That's crazy. So, here it tells you about the foot soldier. If you want to pause that. The horse soldier. If you want to pause that. Up here is a soldier in the field. So, you just pause this. Read that if you like. Over here, equipment and supplies. See that? You see that picture. And they got this picture, and then this stuff here. You can see this little tent. And telling you about this area. There's a fireplace right in the middle of the room. Obviously, that'd be the heat for everybody. So imagine that. And then here you go. Where is the cemetery? And it's telling you about that right there. So hopefully you can see all that. Read all about it. Excerpts from Fort Davis death records. Well, there's a couple of cannons, a little short one, a much longer one up there. Look here, here's a Gatling gun up there, but we'll get to that in a second, I guess. The 12-pound howitzer, model 1841. It's the same thing, just, pause that, read that. So let's look over here. Like I said, the Gatling gun, model 1866, 45 caliber. Firing 350 rounds per minute. Wow, can you imagine that back then? That would have been firepower. And look at this. Check this out. Came from this tree. You can see the picture, or hopefully you can.
I love that.
Here, jump back a little bit so I can get some light on that. There you go. There's the picture of the tree. So you can tell the actual size of it by that cut right there. And that's something to certify. That is a Champion Tree Certificate, it says. Fort Davis National Historic Site. Wow.
That is cool.
Isn't that awesome? That was a big tree.
Very awesome.
Okay, and finally, we have the 3-inch rifled field gun model of 1861. Weighed 1,730 pounds, 3-inch gun. That's it right there. All right, so step out on this porch. You can see that and that. We'll come back and look at that in a minute. All right, so here it says scan to view video. Okay, I guess online. This is the squad room, as you can see. So it tells you all about that. During December 1884, 26 men of Troop H, 10th Cavalry slept, dressed, relaxed, and worked. Wow. So this was their home.
Look at the hats they wore.
And here's a drawing of what it looked like, obviously.
Like
Okay, yeah.
desert.
Look at the white hats, like you see, like when people go to Africa. See those up there? Then there's an Indiana Jones type right beside that red towel. These are the cots. Don't those look comfortable? Man, you talk about a good night's sleep that you would never get. But you can see there's a stove out there. There's a stove on the far end. So that, of course, would have been the heat for this place. And in the wintertime, I'm sure it got very cold. But here, this is trash. I don't know if that means current day. Yeah, there's trash in there. And that lid is super heavy. Mess hall and kitchen, you can see. That little blue and yellow sign right there says that. And ruins.
Fragile, keep off.
Fragile, keep out. Okay. So here you go. You can see this was to protect the San Antonio El Paso Road. That's why this fort was made. Parts of the town of Fort Davis. So if you want to look at the legend here, you can see each one of these, and of course pause them and rewind to get back to them. And then you can see the numbers on the map, and if I hold it way out like that, you should see them all. But here, just to give you a closer up view, I'll just sort of scan this left to right. Okay, and then let's just scan again left to right. Okay, and right now we seem to be in that building. There's Golden, California, so you can read that. Requisition it from the quartermaster. Fire in the haystack, so you definitely don't want that. And Beaker Sound boots and saddles. So here's the view out. So obviously, like I said, you can see that's the mess hall right there. So these boys would pile out of here and eat there. And who knows what that is out there, but we'll go out in a little while. We'll check out all these buildings if we can. She had a nice long porch, so I'm sure in the evening you can come out here and get you some shade and some nice air, because I'm telling you today it's windy and the air feels pretty good right now, does it not?
Just touch chill on it.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but it's, as you can
In
see,
the shade.
big long porch here. And I'm not sure what that's about. It says find your park, Fort Davis National Historic Site, but if there's a map there, I don't see it. Of course, that's going to be officer quarters all the way over there. And then I would imagine that big 2-story house, when we get down to it, that's probably the big kahuna's place. But here you can see, there's just some foundations. So you can see this sign says commissary. And so I'll go ahead and shut this off, and then as we see what other things are, I'll show those to you. Okay, so you can see again, so that's the building we just came from. Those two are like that. If you remember that map I just showed you a minute ago, there were actually 4 buildings like that here. These would be the foundations, and that would, I'm sure, be the mess hall from back out there and then down this way. And you can see it does say enlisted men's barracks, 1877 to 1891. Ruins, fragile, keep off. So they don't want you walking on that, and I will absolutely respect that. But that's what you would have seen. You would have seen 4 buildings like those 2 back there that would have stretched down obviously to here. So, not too bad. And obviously there's something else up here, and we'll go take a gander at that. Okay, so you can see this says Enlisted Men's Barracks 1876 to 1887, and a canteen 1888 to 1891, so that only lasted 3 years. But these would be the foundations for those that's left. So, and again, I'm sure probably mess hall back there in the very back of the building. So pretty cool. So we will head over here to these buildings and see what they are. All right, so you can see here, it says guardhouse, 1882 to 1891. This is not the place you want to be. Another good word for this would be jail. So, you know, you're being locked up here. This is not the area, this base you want to be on. All right, so let's walk over here, see what we have over here. So here you can see obviously is remains of some buildings. That's you can see wood inside the middle of it. So it was adobe and wood.
A regular house.
Yeah, could have been. And of course these are ruins here, as it says. They don't want you on any of these things.
Barracks, it says.
Enlisted Men's Barracks, 1884 to 1888. So these then were only good for 4 years. And then of course, as we've learned, if you've been following along, this whole base was deactivated in 1891. So it only lasted 3 years after this thing was actually built and in use, you know, before they disbanded the whole thing. So you can see there's a little building over there, but I guess this is standing here as part of it, that you could just extend this in your mind all the way down, and that's pretty much what it would look like, and probably all the way on the back maybe, I don't know, or maybe that was the mess hall, who knows. Maybe there's one on both sides, I don't know, but let's go over here and check out. This is obviously a house. I'm sure it belongs to some officer. And there's even a wagon, so let's go check that out. Okay, so here you can see that it says bakery, 1876 to 1891. So for 15 years, this little building was the bakery. So, you know, as I was just saying, that, you know, this mainly would have been for making bread. But obviously for the officers and stuff here, you know, they would have gotten birthday cakes and treats and things like that. And those would have been made right here. And then I'm sure carried to these houses all up in here, because that's where your officers were. And of course, that big one back there. So that's the bakery. Over here, see this wagon. And check out what this thing looks like. A little smaller wheels on the front, a little bigger wheels on the back, which obviously is the way they were made and makes sense. Here you can see the buckboard. And I mean, this thing here, let me just show you a comparison, okay? This is me, 5.5 foot tall. Think about how hard, at least for somebody like me, this would be to crawl up on. I mean, this is tall. I mean, that seat is above my head by quite a few inches. And look at this. I mean, I guess you'd step on the wheel there, the hub, and then up there, and then there, and then make your way on up. And boy, if you slipped, well, you know, you'd be in trouble. But here, let's look in the back of this thing. I can't even see it so tall, but I'll see it when I edit this video. So there you go. That's the wagon. So let's go over here and look at this house. You can see it's adobe underneath, and then you can see on the bottom that it's got the rocks there. So I'm not seeing a sign. Let's see if we can figure out what this is. Oh, post commissary. That's what this is. 1883 to 1891. So check it out. Commissary, granary, quartermaster storehouse, and the bakery. Oh, see, now you can see the whole bakery and what it really looked like, which is out there, and this is the chapel. So bakery, much smaller. And there you go, original roof line. That's what they're showing you of what this building would have looked like. It actually would have stretched much further than what we saw. And now we do need to be quiet because there is a guy in here working. So, you know, we don't want to disturb him. And if you look back there, you see all kinds of canned food and stuff.
There's the bank vault.
Well, not a bank, but yeah, but a vault. Okay. And this tells you about reconstructing this place, what fell through the cracks, which I'm sure was a lot. And look at here. Here are buttons. Here's some plates. Some Prince Albert. Marbles that they used to play. Here's some more dishes and things. Look at all this stuff. Pretty cool, huh? And now here tells you about the San Antonio El Paso Road, and here's your map to show you El Paso. You can see there's two splits on it, I guess at different times. There's Fort Stockton all the way right down. San Antonio, 1809. So a 600-mile journey along the southern route to California. So there you go. So here, if you want to read this stuff, you can pause each one of these and read them. Artist rendition. And then there's this stuff over here. You can pause and read. And this down here, same thing. Okay. Now in here, you can see, how was the food?
For breakfast, we had beef hash, dry sliced bread and coffee. For dinner, sliced beef, dry bread and coffee. For supper, coffee straight, just dry bread and coffee. The food was very poor.
A sergeant stationed at Fort Davis.
Wow, so there you go. The food was very poor. Very poor. But look at all this stuff. And pretty neat. Here, let's listen to one more. Let's do this one.
Assorted crackers, 214 pounds, 63 of which were found good. The remaining 151 pounds, old, musty, and wormy, were in original packages, boxes, came well sealed, and the worms must have been in when they arrived at the post.
Wow.
Colonel George Andrews to the Adjutant General, Department of Texas, January 4th, 1875.
Okay, and then here, take a look at this. And here's some photocopies, obviously, some original papers. Supplies and stuff, I'm sure. Check this out, it says Squaw. And then here, you can read all this. Pause and, go through it. There's peaches, succotash, hard bread, apple rings, butterfly peas, salt, baked beans, salmon, and bacon over here in the big one on the bottom. So, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. All right, let's march on down over there and we'll see what we can see there. All right, so this sign you can see says Quartermaster Storehouse, 1883 to 1891. So obviously this is it. This would have been nothing but a warehouse, if you will. So we'll go over here and we'll look at these two. In fact, since this one's so short, I'll just keep this rolling. And you can see this one is the granary from 1886 to 1891. So this was only actually active for 5 years. But you can see it started here and it ran all the way down. So it was a much bigger building than obviously what remains. Just to show you what some of the walls look like. The bricks. And look at this. Wow. Oh my goodness. I just had 100 birds fly out of here. So the birds apparently are hanging out here in this corner in the shade. I scared them. But yeah, so that would have been all the way down through there. This would have been one single building. Wouldn't have been open like this at all. So let's move on, see what else we can see. All right, so here you can see this is, hopefully you can see, I'll get out of the way, sawmill, 1886 to 1891. Look how small this is. So, just enough space to do what you needed to do, I guess. But, there was a lot of building and stuff to take care of, and I'm sure keep making and remaking. And all up here's even a smaller building. Let's go look at that. Okay, so you see this sign? It says Oil House. And look how small this thing was. Yeah, there's the whole thing. That's all it was. So, not too much going on there. Back there is the building for the current people back there, the buildings and RVs and stuff. So I'm sure way back in, when this fort was active up until 91, that would have been, there'd have been stuff down there for this fort. But let's go on over here and we'll take a look at this stuff here. And see what we got up here, and then we'll start working our way back over to that, and we'll go see the rest of the fort. All right, so here you can see this cannon. That's the stuff that we were looking at. I was walking up to it back there. I got a feeling, because of this place right here, that this was probably maybe like a big corral, obviously, so for their horses and everything. So, but there's no signs on this one. You see there's a big barrel of, or I mean a big bale of hay there. And yeah, up on the building it says Troop E up there. So, over here is a very interesting thing I wanted to show you. Again, if you remember one of the maps I showed you in one of these buildings, it showed that this post was actually created to protect the route of the El Paso San Antonio Road. Well, first of all, I want to get close enough to make sure that you can see this. You see this sign? It says Historic San Antonio El Paso Road. El Paso is to the left or the west, 200 miles. San Antonio to the east, or 400 miles to the right. Now, here's the thing. If you looked at that map like I showed you, you know that the road came right through the fort. Well, guess what this is? This is that road. So right now, I'm standing on an extremely important road at the time, very historic road. And sure enough, it did run right through the mill. That's the parking lot up there where we're parked at. In fact, I can see my car from here. But this road runs right down here, and that's, of course, coming from El Paso. If you happen to head this way, and boom, straight down there, and out it goes to San Antonio. So, right now I am standing on a very historic road. So let's get some video of this, because this is highly worthy to me, and I'll give you a 360 all at the same time. So yeah, back there's El Paso, and you get an overview of the park and those nice hills back there. So there you go. There's the whole road. I think that's pretty cool. So next, let's go over here.
I've already been to that one.
Oh, have we been to that one?
Yeah.
Well, no. Then we go down here to get this other one. All right, so we're
This on the way through.
going to go get the building in the back here, and then we'll head up that way and get the other side of the fort, because that's the visitor center and stuff where we were. So we'll go check out these horses over here and stuff, and see what I can show you. All right, so right here you can see Quartermaster Corral, 1870, 1891. So I was right. This whole thing here was the corral. I'm sure the quartermaster lived in that little house right there. And of course his job would have been to come out here day and night and feed up these horses and mules and everything, and kept them going. But there's just a couple horses there for show that are eating hay. And we're going to walk over there and look at that stuff, and then head to the other side. Okay, so this stuff you can see is the Cavalry Stables, 1869 to 1891. Look how huge this is. This goes from down there all the way down in that corner, all the way across,
All the way down.
and look at this, all of that. I mean, so this goes a very long way, which obviously makes sense, because there would have been a lot of men here, hundreds, and so they would have needed many hundreds of horses and mules to pull some of those cannons and things. So this would have been an absolutely gigantic place, and pretty cool. So let's we'll head on to the other side of the park.
Actually, there's a couple more signs. There's a sign, that one, there's a sign of
Oh, is there?
That must have been different. Like those two down there.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll head on up this way then, and we'll check out these two. Yeah, and then actually then there's this thing over here. We gotta look at that as well. So
Now we get all of them.
yeah, let's march on, and don't want to cheat you out of any of this. All right, so you can see they actually upped the bakery. This was from 1870 to 1881, and then it became a commissary office from 81 to 85. And you can see they made this quite a bit bigger than that original bakery that we looked, which is on up there. So the bakery moved, changed, and most certainly grew, which tells me they had a lot more people to feed as the years went on. So they needed bigger quarters for that very thing. And over here we have the commissary storehouse, 1869 to 1884, and then the forage house from 1885 to 1891. Now you can see it is not near as big as a lot of these other buildings. You can see, I mean, the bakery was probably 3 times the size of this thing, at least twice, if not 3. And yeah, we didn't see that over there either, so we'll see that in a little bit. Spring from 1854 to 1883. And ain't a lot of water in it now. Looks, you know, a little dry. But that would have been that. And all right, so this you can see is the quartermaster storehouse from 1870 to 1883. Pretty big building, again, just fancy word for a warehouse. You can see they obviously had various rooms over here, so they stored different things in different rooms. So he knew, you know, which room to go to get whatever particular thing it was he was looking for. But just to show you, right here, this is of course where you come in the parking lot, but that sign over there tells you the historic, again, San Antonio El Paso Road. El Paso's 200 that way, San Antonio 400 miles to the right. So that road, I'm sure, used to come right through here. In fact, here, let's do this. You can see that it is cut over there. So the road, so they would have come in, you know, if they were coming from El Paso, they'd have come from here and come down. And right here is the road where I stood down there, quite a ways down. And so this would have been that road, of course, heading to San Antonio, or, you know, more than likely, because this apparently was used for California, and you would most likely be coming this way, and then of course you'd have shot straight across right through there, and you can see the tracks, and you'd have been making your way to El Paso, and then from there you had to pick up something else to get yourself to California. But I love the historic stuff, and just standing on that road, knowing that people from, you know, 150, 160, 170 years ago literally traveled that very road. And now I'm standing on it today and recording it and sharing it with you. So what a cool thing. We're going to make our way to the other side of the park, then I'll start videoing again for you. Alright, so here we are at the officers' quarters here. Each of them is a house, of course. And you can look all the way down there and you can see just a whole row of trees. Every house has at least one tree. Some have 2, like this very first one. And let me just walk up here and show you. So you see these 2 trees are obviously for this house. And you can see it's got a nice porch on it. And we can't really look in or anything. That looks like it's kind of boarded up on the inside or something. Then this has got curtains on this side. But as we look right down the row, I'll just show you representatively. So you can look straight down. Every house is exactly at the same place. Then all the trees, of course, are straight down as well. So you got this nice alley. And then you can see, like I said, every house is exactly the same. You can't see in there, can you? Yeah, I didn't think so. But yeah, this is just representative of the quarters match. This would be one of the officers' wives coming down. So, you know, she looks like she was born probably about 1843. I'd say to have been here in about 1861. So, but you can see the view back there of the hills with the dark rocks and everything. That's pretty cool. So we're going to go towards the back here. And show you. There's a lot of buildings way back here in the back. So this was an absolutely huge fort for out here. This thing was big. So we're going to go back there and look. I'm just guessing, honestly, from here that that's the hospital, which would make sense. They'd want it that far back away to keep sick people away from the healthy ones. And we'll be checking things here. Oh, okay. Okay, so I just walked past this and didn't even notice it. Enlisted Men's Barracks, 1856 to 1862. Now, obviously, they got just this little piece of it. So now I have to wonder, I mean, this probably ran way down there long before these officers' quarters were ever built. So, and who knows, they may have even run up that way somewhat. So yeah, that's interesting. The start of this thing, that's where that was come about at. So that's very historic and very cool. I like that. All right, so let's keep. Okay, so look at what we ran across right back here. enlisted men's barracks, 1856 to 1862. So you can see this one, and they're running on down through there. So back when this fort was first founded, this is where the men would have stayed. No officers. So you can tell these houses are an addition. And walking back here,
Oh, kitchen?
And this is the kitchen behind this house. Each one, and that one up there will be the same thing. All the way down, it's going to have the same thing because the kitchens were always kept separate from the houses to keep them from burning up and for heat in the summertime. So, plus the person that was the cook usually stayed there. But you can see, actually, we just found out this second house is actually open. We didn't think anything was open here from what we were told, but you can see some of the people right here. This guy was hired in December 1854 for $30 a month. Wow. So you can see some of the tools.
Up here is 150, and it goes downward from
Yeah.
there.
For who made the least. So you can see here all kinds of cool stuff. And look at this old picture with these same houses, and of course the mountains back there, the flag. So here, this is the March 1871 report of persons and articles. Lists some of the civilian employees here. So these would not have been soldiers. These are people they hired. You can see as brick makers and layers and blacksmiths and all that stuff, I'm sure. So here you go. We can't get in, of course, but you can see there's a bed, and there's some boots, and there's a nice rug, fireplace, a desk to work, of course, to do your reports and all that kind of stuff. And then over here, it looks like we have a living room or a parlor, as they probably would have called it back then. You can see there's a place to sit, library, fireplace.
Nicer bedroom back there.
Yep, that part would have been the master bedroom back there. And boy, there's a really pretty quilt on that bed. And then, of course, the wooden floors, which would be absolutely priceless these days. And then you can see the ceiling up there, beadboard, all on the ceilings. Or hopefully you can see that. So, this is what...
rolling, baby.
Yeah, something. So this is what one of these houses, and then which all the houses, of course, they would have looked exactly the same. But pretty neat nonetheless. And right here is your better look, actually, into the bedroom. You see that quilt right there? I think that's a really pretty quilt. And again, you've got what looks like would have been a sewing area for the woman of the house, of course. There's a baby carriage stroller right there. And there's a desk where the man would have worked over in that corner. Of course, fireplace for heat. And then a place thing right there, see, for a woman to make a dress, a dress form. So yeah, that would have made sense for that to be her sewing. You can see there was a separate door for that bedroom so you could get in and out, I guess, quickly if you needed. But if you look all the way down, like I said, all those are going to be the same. That's the barracks for the enlisted men when this post first started in 1854. And then each one of the houses would have had a kitchen off of it. And then up here was probably one of the absolute most important buildings on the entire hospital. And I mean, literally, you will see that if they hadn't had this, they couldn't have made it. And that's the truth. And if you look, there it is. Privy. Probably the most important room on the entire base. And that, I'm sure, would have been its counterpart. There would have been a couple of them here. And there probably would have been a couple of them, for maybe every couple of houses or so down. So if you lived in that house, you'd have come to this one. If you'd lived in this one we just looked at, this is the one you'd have come to. So would have been your own personal privy. So let's go back here and look at, like I said, what I'm absolutely sure is the hospital. And take a look at that.